And good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Technology and Innovations May Collaborative. We're going to wait just a few more moments to give others an opportunity to join us. We're very excited about our program this morning, and we want to extend a great welcome to you. Good morning, everyone. We are going to get started, and we know that others will be joining us as we move through our program. My name is Vida Shamsuddin, and I am the Director for Technology and Innovation Sector. Joining me this morning also is John Miller, who is a Program Manager for the Technology and Innovation Sector, as well as the Manufacturing and Supply Chain. We want to welcome all of you who are returning, joining us this morning, but also want to welcome any of our new attendees to our May Collaborative. You know, we do this every month. And for today, our theme for the month, quite frankly, is dual enrollment. But before I dive into the program, I want to extend greetings on behalf of Dr. Aaron Fickner, who is our president of the New Jersey Council of County Colleges, as well as our senior director, Catherine Stargell, who is on travel and could not join us today. We also want to recognize NJBIA, who is our partner with the ambitious work that the New Jersey Pathways Initiative is doing. We have such a great program today planned for you on dual enrollment. We have some great speakers, but before we get started, next slide, please. We'd like you to give us your feedback. So if you could just hold up your phones and fill out this survey after the program, because what really is important for our New Jersey Pathway Initiative is this is a collaborative. So we really look at this, although we're virtual, as a very collaborative process. We want to hear your feedback. We want to hear your thoughts. Our chat is wide open. So as we move through the program, we're going to absolutely invite you to comment, to raise questions, because our speakers from the 3 segments that we have today, which I will tell you, you will absolutely walk away with some nuggets that you didn't have before. We want to hear from you. So with that, next slide, please. We want to hear from you, but if you decide that you're going to post on your social medias, give us a tag at #NJPathways, because we want to share our collaborative moments, not with just our network, but with your network, because Our whole goal is to grow a very transparent and dynamic pathway. And when we talk about collaboration and building an ecosystem, that's just not us here at the New Jersey Pathways. It's absolutely every single one of you who are participating in our virtual Zoom meeting today. Next slide, please. So what do we have in store? I said we had a dynamic program. Well, let's just take a quick glance at our agenda for today. We have our national thought leader, Elizabeth Barnett, who will be joining us. She is a senior research associate at the Community College Research Center at Columbia University. She has some very good information just on the national trends and what other community colleges are doing in the area. We also, in our segment where we get to highlight one of our community college partners, we have the collegiate high school and high school open option programs, Dr. Elvie Vieira, who is the Dean of the Community Continuing Education and Workforce Development at Essex County College. We also have Principal and Trustee Carmen Morales, who is with the Essex County Newark Tech High School. And we'll also be hearing from two of the students, both past and present, Ducey Toure, as well as Katrina Diodot, who are currently and have been a part of that program, because that's always important to hear from the students who actually are engaging in these very dynamic programs. And we're going to end our program today with an industry partner, CGI, who will talk about their partnership with PTech, which are Pathways in Technology and Early College High School. So as I said, we have a great program. Sit back, enjoy. This is taped, so you don't have to take copious notes because we're going to share it. We also know that you might want some of these presentations. We will be sharing those with you as well. So what we really like for you to do is just get in listen mode, raise your questions, be engaged, and absolutely enjoy. And with that, we'll move to our next part of the program where I get to introduce to you our expert speaker, Elizabeth Barnett. But before I bring Elizabeth to our Zoom stage, I'd like to share a little bit about her amazing background. Elizabeth is a senior research associate at CCRC. She also leads CCRC's project, Reshaping the College Transition, a study of early assessment and curricular intervention. Elizabeth has led research on the high school to college transition, college readiness, dual enrollment, developmental education, early college high schools, the Common Core state standards, and career and technical education practices. So when we say she brings a plethora of research and information to this presentation, that absolutely is an understatement. Elizabeth also is a project lead for the Center for the Analysis of Post-Secondary Readiness study on alternate placement systems and student outcomes. She leads the CCRC's project, Reshaping the College Transition and Early Assessment and Curricular Intervention, which I mentioned earlier. But also she has publications which include Reshaping the College Transition, Assessment and Transition in 4 states, Bridging the Gap, an impact study of 8 developmental summer bridge programs in Texas, Dual Enrollment, a strategy for educational advancement for all students. And she's also co-edited New Directions in Community Colleges, Academic Pathways to and from the community college. And her resume absolutely and bio goes on, but that is more than a mouthful. And so with that, Elizabeth, the Zoom floor is yours. And thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much, Vida. I'm really pleased to be here. I've had the pleasure of speaking with different groups in New Jersey in the past, and I am happy to be with this group today. It sounds like you're doing some really important and interesting work. So can people see my screen? Let me just check on that first.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, very good. Yeah, I'm going to share some thoughts today on one of my favorite topics, which is dual enrollment, especially in relation to CTE and equity. If you have questions or comments, please put them in the chat. Vita will be monitoring, and if we end up having a dialogue, that's great. And yeah, so let's get started. So Community College Research Center. We've been around about 25 years. We're interested in all sorts of things that relate to student success in community colleges. And one of the areas, as we're talking about today, is dual enrollment and the transition to college. So this is just grabbed from our website. We have a lot of background materials there that you may be interested in looking at related to dual enrollment, related to a range of topics. But we know that dual enrollment students are more likely to finish high school, persistent post-secondary education, and accumulate college credits than their peers. So one thing that we believe is that it's important to give students these opportunities whenever possible. And that's one of the topics I'm going to talk about today. We also know that participation in dual enrollment is associated with better college outcomes for Black, Latinx, and white students, but that we're still seeing a lot of gaps in participation. So the growth of dual enrollment, this slide shows you the incredible change in the number of students participating in dual enrollment over time. We've got a trend that's growing up, that's been going quite steeply up and continues to do so in many community colleges where we visited. Sometimes dual enrollment can be a quarter or more of the population for the college, and in some cases colleges are especially appreciative that it's picking up some of the slack as other groups are enrolling less commonly. We also have a lot of dual enrollment students in public 4 years and also in private nonprofit and private for-profit colleges. So this is a national picture, but we also have a chart here for New Jersey, where again, we see this incredible growth of dual enrollment over time. What's a little bit different about New Jersey is that we have more participation by the private sector than we do in the national scene for whatever reason. I imagine it has to do with the mix of colleges that you have in the state. So that's both your private nonprofits and to a lesser degree your private for-profits.
Elizabeth, if I could hop in before you move to slide 7 and just ask you, based on the national trend, and particularly in New Jersey that you just shown, it showed that there has been an increase like over the past 10 years in dual enrollment. Do you know what's really driving those increasing factors?
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's just become better known as a strategy for students to make the most of their education. So, traditionally dual enrollment has been for students who are very advanced and, are ready to take on college courses. I think more recently it's being made available to a range of students. And there are also more different kinds of pathways, like the career pathways where, it's not just let's go to college and take a course. It's like, let's begin with some courses that are going to lead me toward my eventual major or my eventual career. So,
Great.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So we've been doing a number of projects on dual enrollment recently, and I'm going to draw from several of them in what I talk with you about here. We did an equity playbook along with the Aspen Institute that has a lot of good ideas about how to expand access to dual enrollment, drawing on 3 states, where we sought out colleges and high schools that were doing especially well in terms of engaging different student groups in their dual enrollment. Another project is one that was affiliated with another center. I'm part of it, Teachers College, and that was looking more at STEM and trying to think about different ways to expand access to STEM-focused dual enrollment, both with a career focus and I guess what you might call a more academic focus. I'm going to talk a little bit about the National Academies Foundation evaluation we did, and there's work underway right now on a project called Dual Enrollment Equity Pathways. So my main topic today is looking at two different important subjects. First of all, dual enrollment, when done intentionally, can serve as an on-ramp to high-quality career pathways, and that's both for students who are going directly into careers and those going into college. I tend to not make a big distinction between those two groups because, even if you go directly into a career, you may well want to take further college courses at some point and work toward a degree. Or if you go directly to college, you may well be working as well. So it's not an either or, in my opinion. And then also dual enrollment can be a way to increase equitable opportunities. Okay, so talking about dual enrollment as an on-ramp first. So I want to highlight some key practices that various people at CCRC have been working on. Davis Jenkins is someone who's been thinking about this a lot as well. So the first one is to make sure that you're thinking about the actual pathways starting in college and careers, and then mapping them backward into high school. And as I understand it, your initiative is very much thinking along these lines. So that's important. So dual enrollment can be good just as a way of exploring different pathways, including those that you might not end up taking. But I think it's good for students to have a sense of where the whole thing is going, where their courses can lead them. And it's also good for parents because what we know is that a lot of parents, have that kind of dualistic thinking. You're either going to go to college or you're going to go for a job. And they also, often have a very narrow idea of what the career options are. So you guys are in technology and innovation. I mean, I'm sure a lot of the pathways that you are dealing with are not well known to parents and, or to students. And many times people have ideas about what the good careers are. So making sure people can see where these courses and pathways lead, and then marketing them as a way to save a lot of money and also end up with a good career. Yeah.
Elizabeth, one question I wanted to ask you, when you talked about the equity playbook that you all were doing, I think with the Aspen Institute, and you talked about, and one thing that you hit on is basically educating parents about the opportunities that are there for the students. When you saw an increase with some of the colleges that you looked at around like equity for, dual enrollment programs, was that one of the driving factors, the education around the opportunities?
Well, we can't necessarily draw a direct line from any given practice to the outcomes, but what we did is we identified colleges and high schools where they already had good results with a range of students. And so we tried to figure out what the different practices were. And one of them, that emerged pretty often was working directly with parents.
Great, thank you.
So that does seem to be important. Another aspect of dual enrollment that can serve as an on-ramp, and I think this is especially powerful within CTE, is motivating students through opportunities for actual real-world experience and connections with industry partners and labs and situations where they can catch fire and see what the future can hold. So, I think thinking about the dual enrollment opportunities in relation to what students are really, seem to catch on to can be important. And, as you listen to the students later, there may be some good hints there. The last one that I want to highlight is the idea that, if students actually have developed a plan that even if they don't end up following it, that it can be an important way of helping them again to see dual enrollment as an on-ramp, to be clear on what the steps actually are to reach their goals. So different colleges are creating these kinds of pathways. This is one that we identified through the Equity Playbook program, Indian River State College or Indian River College in Florida. They're thinking in terms of meta majors. So, I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but basically, we're talking about clusters of careers that fit together, such as technology could be one. Different colleges define those in different ways, but typically they'll have, like maybe 6 to 10 major areas that students can go into. And thinking about, whether there are clusters at the high school level that prepare students well to go into the college clusters. And, there are a number of examples out there. So, I'd encourage you to look at this one, but, if there, I'm sure there's some, around New Jersey as well, but, it's worth looking, I think, at what other colleges and high schools and industry partners are doing on developing these kinds of things.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And John is actually sharing those links in our chat as you're speaking, as well as we'll be sending out your presentation to share with the audience. So thank you.
Okay, very good. This is just an example of a college that's laid out and I keep saying college, but it's actually, the partnership, the high schools and the industry
Right.
people do. So laying out specific courses so that, students can see, where it's all going to go, how many credits they're going to get if they follow a specific pathway. And in this particular case, it's more of a general education focus and for, for students who are likely to want to transfer into a bachelor's degree, but it can be done in any field. And again, there are lots of good examples out there. So speaking of examples, I also wanted to highlight a couple of programs that I think do an especially, or have elements that can be useful to other people. So so this is from they're called NAF now. They used to be called the National Academies Foundation. They kind of dropped the longer title. But they're a group that's done a good job, I think, of thinking through how to sequence courses, but also how to help students just understand from an early age what their options are and to progressively help them to think about different pathways and whether they're a fit for them. So with NAF, you've got, it's a well-developed career pathway model. There's a lot of material from online for them too. I just kind of grabbed from their website for this too. They've got 4 major aspects that they develop, the academy development. There are 5 academies that they offer, curriculum and instruction within each one, an advisory board of people from industry, and then work-based learning experiences are critical too, where students are actually in the workplace. So students will choose one of these 5 themes. In other places, there are other themes available as well, but NAF is focused in on these 5. And they take their career themed courses along with their normal high school coursework. And not only are they learning information about, say, health sciences, but there's a focus on career skill building and professionalism and the kinds of behaviors you need to be successful in the workplace. And then students do have paid internships as part of this program. And so this is one of the aspects that I like most about their model, that they think in terms of how you're going to get work-based learning experiences, so where students will directly interact with business partners, as well as some of those kind of underlying skills that can be helpful as you move forward into college and careers. So things such as, early on guest speakers and worksite tours, and later on, job shadowing, that kind of thing.
Elizabeth, and it's very interesting that you share this information with our audience, because that's one thing that we at the NJ Pathways have been hearing from a lot of our education partners, is really the need, not just for those substantive skills, particularly for, as we're talking about in technology, where they actually will have the substantive technical skills associated with those industry value credentials. But what's most important, or equally important, is their ability to navigate that career, that team piece, the employment piece, the career piece that you don't necessarily always get in the classroom, but you absolutely get when you're actually immersed within a work environment with a potential employer, or some of these internships. That is very important. So thank you for highlighting that point, because that's one thing that we are finding with our partners.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So the other program I want to just briefly highlight is PTech, and I understand you're going to learn more about that later, which is great. I've been very impressed with this model. It's a grades 9 through 13, or actually grades 9 through 14 in many cases. So, all the way from the beginning of high school through an associate's degree. So most students are graduating with their high school diploma and an associate's degree, and with a blend of college and high school courses. So as soon as they're ready, they're accelerating during their early years so they can jump into their college work fairly early on. And they also emphasize work-based learning as part of what they do. So I'm not going to go into that too much, especially since you're going to talk about them later. But, you know, there is some good research going on that shows that students are doing well in these programs and are more likely to graduate, especially students from, you know, traditionally underserved groups. And, you know, what I think is maybe most important, this is a quote from somebody who was talking about them, is that, you know, they get the chance to find a field that they're passionate about and start working in it and, you know, develop a sense of maturity and purpose.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And Mike Regan actually will be highlighting that in our third segment in the program from CGI with their work with PTEC. So we're excited to hear about him, and he will absolutely go in greater detail just on what their partnership has been like over the past years. So thank you.
Sure, yeah. So yeah, so I wanted to highlight the equity piece a little bit more directly. So this is the first column here shows at the national level how high school students are broken out by different racial ethnic groups. And the second column is the percent of students from each group who took a dual enrollment course. And the third, we're not going to pay as much attention to today, but that's students who took an AP course. So not surprisingly, what we see is that, you know, the distribution of students is not equitable here. We've got many fewer students from Black and Latinx groups who are taking dual enrollment in particular. And I also have the information for New Jersey, and actually New Jersey's picture is a little bit better than the national picture. You still, you know, we still see a big gap, but it's, you know, slightly less of an issue. So, you know, I think there's a lot that, you know, we can think about for dual enrollment in general, but I wanted to highlight, you know, ways especially that CTE can make a difference. So this is a few key equity practices that you might want to consider here. One is we talked about reaching out to students and families, you know, in general about CTE pathways, but, you know, in particular, maybe targeting some groups of students or, you know, figuring out ways to reach students and parents that, you know, maybe not the usual ways that you reach out, you know, so something to think about. And some ideas for that are in that equity playbook if you're interested. And again, marketing these roadmaps as, you know, saving money and contributing to good careers. So, you know, all parents are concerned about, well, I should say it's very widespread that parents are concerned about college costs, and we have a way here to help address that.
Elizabeth, before you move on, just a quick question, because you did show that New Jersey tracks a national trend, although it's slightly better than the national trend as it relates to a lack of diversity in these dual enrollment programs. But are you and your colleagues, I know you looked at some of the Aspen Institute programs for equity with the playbook, but overall, are you seeing that community colleges and high schools, quite frankly, are trying to address this lack of diversity around dual enrollment programs and even CTE courses, but definitely dual enrollment programs?
I wish I could say yes.
I wish you could too.
Yeah. I mean, there definitely are people that are doing it. And, you know, we were very happy with what we found, you know, some of the examples we found. There are still a lot of people that are thinking of it really just for the high flying students, for the students who are already on track to college, essentially, which, you know, could be students from any racial ethnic group, but, you know, we know that there are gaps to start with. And so, you know, but, you know, we do see some colleges and some program approaches. So that's part of what I wanted to talk about here too, that seem to make a difference here.
Right. And after that, Elizabeth, I'm going to follow up because we did have a question from the audience to say that, do you have a breakdown comparing participation as a percent of their high school population?
So that's kind of what this slide tries to do. So the overall high school population is in the column on the left, right? And the percent of the population in a dual enrollment course is in that middle column.
Great, thank you. And we will be sharing that.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so, what else can we do? Well, there are quite a lot of things, but a couple of things I want to highlight here. First is thinking about whether there are ways to what I call differentiate different dual enrollment opportunities. So creating different pathways or different kinds of approaches that may work well with different students. So I'm going to say more about that on the next slide. But I do want to say within this that CTE can often be a good access point. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One is that students, may have a strong interest in a particular, career area. Maybe they were so-so students in high school in general, but they, get excited when it comes to, um, whatever it is, gaming technology or, working on cars or whatever it is. And so it's good from that point of view. The other point of view is that a lot of times that the requirements to enter CTE courses are not quite as stringent. So you have a way sometimes to get students started on college courses, even if they haven't met certain test scores or whatever the requirements are. But the other key practice, I think, is to make sure that you're set up to support students who are coming into college courses and, make sure that they're set up to succeed, that it's not just okay, you have access, but, what is it that we really need to do to make sure that you will be successful? So good advising, good tutoring, people who notice if things are not going well, those kinds of things. So, this is just mentioning that there are places, as we said, that are going out of their way to make sure that a range of students have opportunities. Once again, Indian River State College, I'm highlighting here, they got together with their partners and said, okay, how can we actually make sure that all students have some opportunity to take dual enrollment? Now, I've mentioned differentiation. So this is coming from some work we did with that STEM early college research. And, in that program, they had decided that they were going to try to make sure that all students had, good experiences, good exposure with STEM programs, and also that all students had dual enrollment opportunities. And if not full dual enrollment, something that was very much an opportunity to understand and be exposed to college and what that means. So what we looked at here was dividing up our students into basically 6 categories, and not everybody is, all one or another, but to think about opportunities for our most academically advanced students, mid-range students, and least academically advanced. And then to think about students who might have more gen ed interests, and then students with more career focus interests. And think about whether there are ways to fill those boxes with opportunities for students in each of those areas. So this is drawing on that particular project. These were things that different schools and colleges had set up for some of these different groups of students. We don't have time to dig into all of them.
I know. And I wish we could dig in even more, Elizabeth, but we're going to have to wrap up for our next segment with Essex County College. But what I would like to ask, if you had any kind of parting thoughts that you'd like to share briefly before we move on, and we will make your information available to our audience because you've given us great information that I know that our audience can actually learn from.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, this kind of gives you the idea, I think, that you can, play with in your own settings about different ways to serve students. Student success courses that many colleges offer are a good on-ramp for students. So that's one just worth highlighting. But I just wanted to leave you with some resources. So these are several pieces that you might be interested in if you want to dig further. I think, I don't know if John's able to put them all in the chat, but
yeah, he's been sharing them.
Okay, very good. So we'll have these slides available to you. And I just want to thank you for listening, and feel free to reach out if you want to talk further.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Elizabeth, for sharing all of the information that you've shared. I think it will be very helpful as we move through really building out our pathways, particularly as relates to the on-ramp for dual enrollment. And we like to say dual enrollment reimagined, quite frankly. So next up on our program, thank you again. Next up on our program, we have Essex County College, where we're going to be highlighting our pathway to career opportunities. Joining for this part of our presentation is Dr. Elvie Vieira, who is the Dean of Community Continuing Education and Workforce Development at Essex County College, as well as Principal Carmen Morales, who's also a trustee at Essex County College. And I think we also have two of your former and current students joining us as well. So welcome, Dr. Vieira, and welcome, Principal Morales. The floor is yours.
Thank you.
So, thank you all. Just to give you some background, Essex County College is a predominantly Black serving institution. We're also a Hispanic serving institution. I believe we're the only one in New Jersey that has both of those populations so high that we have those titles. And we have a long history of offering upward bound programs, college bound programs, summer programs, gateway to college, all of these programs. Dual enrollment has been part of Essex probably for a good 25 years or more. It's gone through a lot of changes, but over the last 10 years, and especially the last 6 that I've become more involved with it, we've been a little bit more targeted in what we've been offering with the high schools. So we are working with the high schools to bridge their gap, to get them thinking about college and to having the community college play a role in their education. We are helping them to also just be able to be ready for college, to be able to think of college and staying in and succeeding. And we're also wanting them to just acclimate to being in an institution and getting used to the idea, because so many of them are first generation. So we want to have our students embrace the idea of going to college or getting certifications or things that are meaningful, because we know that education changes, their pathway and their ability to earn a living and become, much more involved in society. So Essex does have a little bit probably of a different program because we reach so many minorities. So if we could go to the next slide. So we looked at what some of the presentations that we've been hearing. I attended Achieve the Dream a few years back, and this was a big term back then. We've listened to Dr. Jenkins last week as well. So we know that in a traditional program, in many of our colleges, the parents are paying for the students to attend. The students are attending the classes at the community college or at another institution, depending on what parents want to do. And predominantly they're white and Asian. That's what the stats have told us. And they consider them almost like programs of privilege. At Essex, we are working with the school districts. And so we have the Newark School District, we have Essex County Vocational Schools. Well, now they're called Essex County Schools of Technology, which Principal Morales is principal of one of those. And we work with Belleville High District, and we work with Irvington, East Orange, so many of the local area cities and districts right close to Newark. We have students attend or stay at the high school for the first 30 credits. Once they reach that 30 credit, they have to come on campus. So we've been transitioning them. Of course, with COVID, we went more online and a little more virtual than we would have liked to, because we were really beginning to bring the students on campus to have a more experience of being here and interacting with other students and using resources within the college. All of our, 89% of our students are African American or Hispanic, and all 100% are either reduced lunch or free lunch. So we're really targeting a very low socioeconomic, which I think is why we have a good model for social equity. And that's really thanks to the districts and the involvement of all the superintendents and their commitment to being able to do that. So if we could go to the next slide. So this year alone, and I asked my staff, I have a really great coordinator. I have to shout out to her because I don't think she's here, but her name is Yelena Prislahava. She's been phenomenal at really being the person who follows up with their coordinators at each and every high school. So we work MOUs with each high school. And so for this past year, we served 950 plus students in our program. We offer 219 courses. We had 17 high schools participating. And this year we did 2 associate degrees option. One is the liberal arts, and we had one high school asking for us to do business. So this is the first time that we are going down this path as well. The ethnicity, like I said before, 55% African American, 34% Latino, others, majority of females, right? Not surprising. We have strong females in our student populations. We try really hard also to be a good role model for our male students, and we want to increase that. We offer 661 credits altogether, averaging almost 6 credits, which is like 2 courses per student. We have 104 that will be graduating in June. So they'll have their high school diploma and they'll have their associate's degree, which is like really pretty phenomenal. There are 3 high schools that are having those graduations, and this has been very intentional. It means that students have been in this pathway for the past 4 or 5 years to get to this milestone. So we're really proud of that. The first time we had a graduation was like 5 years ago, and I think I had 12, and I was excited then. So seeing the numbers going up is really, really exciting. So we have 18 coming out of the business degree, and the others are all coming out of our liberal arts. We've saved our parents something like $87,000, right? Because if the parents were paying for our credit per credit, it would just be something that our parents just wouldn't be able to do it. We know that our parents, only a small percentage, and then the more of the affluent areas of the county would be the ones who would be able to do it. We know that there are high schools that have, programs with NJIT and Rutgers and FDU in the area, but we've been really pleased to be working with the majority of the Newark high schools and then surrounding areas to be able to do this. So they've not had any expense. The students are really, really lucky. So we had 76 courses were offered at the high school, 21% were virtual for this past year, 3% came on campus. It's because I have one high school. Their students all come in and take engineering courses and they flow right into their regular classes. I usually interact with some of the faculty and sometimes they can't tell the difference because I'll say, how's so-and-so doing in your class? And they're like, "Oh, he's a high school student?" I say, "Yes, he's a high school student." And they're like amazed, that they're at high school because they are behaving really professionally and they're really academically strong. So it's really good to have that happen. 57% of the courses were taught by adjunct faculty. So they were identified by our chairpersons. And then we've moved to also approving high school teachers the past few years because the need was getting bigger. And these are teachers who already know the students. And so we just go ahead, collect all of their information and resumes, have our chairs and our dean of academic affairs review it, get them approved, and then they end up on our payroll. And sometimes we also have them teach other classes for us because teaching, we're at a premium right now. We need good teachers. So the courses were offered primarily, and 49% of them in humanities, which is, your history, your English, your compositions, your, Spanish 101, 102 kind of thing. So we focused on the liberal arts and that process. 21% in science, which is your introduction to biology, especially for students who down the road may want to go into, something more specific as nursing or something else. So we expose that's also the core requirements for our liberal arts degree and also core requirements for business. And then 21% social sciences. So students are taking psychology courses, sociology courses, and other courses that just introduce them to like criminal justice or that kind of an exposure. And then 9%, which is really that one high school having business. And then we have so far, all the tuition and fees are really, like I said, covered by the high school. So the district bills us, we submit invoices, and everything is done through that. And so we've been able to sustain ourselves by generating enough to cover the cost of having the courses and the instructors, as well the 2 or 3 staff that I have dedicated to this. In addition to that, a couple of years ago, Principal Morales and I worked on getting a foundation to do some tutoring. So we've been able to infuse tutoring into the Newark Tech Essex County High School. If you can go to the next slide. So speaking specifically to the vocational high schools, because they already are CTE based, right? They already have a lot of things going on that are career based. We have 3 schools. In fact, 2 are in Newark. Newark Tech is really only 1 block away. Donald Payne is only about 3 miles away. West Caldwell is the one that is furthest out in the region in West Caldwell near our branch campus, which actually was demolished, and they've been kind enough to let us use their space. So the partnership is very strong. So that Donald Payne, we've been focusing on the early college general education courses, and we are thinking about there's been talks about infusing a dual enrollment with like a track for manufacturing and also do with dual admissions with ECC and NGIT. So that's there. West Caldwell Tech, they have 64 students this year, which is much higher than we've had in the past. They're very interested in computer certifications, which is really what we want to do with particular pathways that we're working with NJCC. And then with Newark Tech, we had 130 students. We've been doing the early college. We've done the dual enrollment. There's also been a lot of infusion around TEAL, which is technology, engineering, and just, education and arts, just exposing the students, and they have a robust curriculum. I'll let Principal Morales talk about it, but there's potential there for us to do more on the technology side, and definitely even in allied health. So that's something that we want to explore. And from about 217, right, we started with just 21 students. Graduating this year, we have 23, and it's overlapping more and more. The conversations around CTE and stackable credentials is coming up. We've already began to use the CompTIA industry curriculum that actually Angel Pinero, I know, is on the call, and he serves on an advisory board that we just recently put together that looks at computer technology and software development, and how do we infuse that into our curriculum and working with the high schools. So we've gone ahead and gotten a lot of Angel's curriculum for the IT fundamentals and the A+ approved through our academic side, so that their students can get 7 credits and get this certification, so they could come out with hopefully a degree, some certifications, and actually their high school. So we're beginning to just really expose the program, try to expand it, and reach out to more students. Definitely over the last few years, a lot of the colleges, all of the community colleges have experienced a downtrend on enrollment. And I think with that downtrend, another reason that there's been an interest with us working more and more with the high schools is to hopefully increase that enrollment and that connectivity. So that's part of it. I think
Elvie,
that,
Dr.
yes,
Vera, I don't want to kind of interrupt you, but just because
no,
our time is kind of starting to be
yes,
squeezed even more, the one thing that I wanted to do is, first of all, thank you for sharing all this information with us, and particularly because this is a technology and innovation, just talking about that comprehensive pilot program that you're looking at as relates to CompTIA and some of the kind of CTE tech-driven pathways. I wanted to kind of we got a question from the audience, and I think it's a question for Principal Morales as relates to the high school teachers. So I wanted to kind of jump in real quick and ask her,
sure.
first of all, welcome Principal Morales. You guys are doing amazing work. Thank you for joining Dr. Vieira and joining the New Jersey Pathways for our May collaborative. But the question we got was, are the high school teachers you are using coming to, well, this is to Essex County College to teach those courses, or are they teaching them in high school? So that might be a question that either one of you could ask.
So thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I jumped on because I had the time. Thank goodness I had the time to just be part of this presentation. But I do have one of my teachers here who have spearheaded this program from day one, which is Miss Ramos. I also have my 2 students. One is Duso Ture. She is a graduate from the first graduating cohort last year. And then one is Katrina Diodat, who is our current student in the program. But to speak about our teachers, so our teachers are approved by Essex County College. They have to have a master's degree in order to teach the courses through Essex County College partnership. They do teach in our school, But remember what Dean Vieira said, that after 30 credits, the students have to then go onto campus to then be taught on campus. We have a fortunate opportunity because Essex County North Tech is next door to Essex County College. So our students, they're walking distance to the school. So the plan was prior to COVID, because the changes for this 30 credits and then the last 30 credits to be on campus really happened right before COVID hit. Then COVID hit us. We already had the plan where the teachers were going to go with the students onto Essex County College. They already had the rooms available for us at Essex County College so that the teachers can teach those courses on campus. Unfortunately, COVID did hit, and we have not had the opportunity to have the teachers on campus with our students. Now, we have another unique situation where our school is being renovated. So Essex County North Tech is being renovated, and we are relocated to another location, which is farther from Essex County College. But again, we have the opportunity to bus our students and our staff over to Essex County College so that they can complete those courses on the campus.
Thank you so much for that, Principal Morales, for that. And I know we're going to have more questions, and we're going to make sure that we share your information. But just because we have to wrap up this segment, but I do not want to not give Duso and Katrina at least maybe 30 seconds to just share what their experience has been and thank them for showing up. So Duce, I'm going to start with you. Can you just briefly share what your experience has been and how impactful it might have been for you briefly? And then Katrina, right after she finishes, you can say something, and then we're going to wrap up and move to our next segment with CGI. So Duce.
Hi, my name is Dusu. I was a part of the pilot program, and it was an interesting experience just because I didn't realize that I was going to be like a part of it because I didn't know they offered it. And since it was the first year, I kind of had to roll with the punches in a way of like them coming up with this new program and all of the different challenges that came with them trying to put it together effectively. But I would say that the program helped me like a lot, especially with it being in collaboration with like Till. And it gave me the skills of like networking and understanding like how to manage my time, understanding like what the type of college courses I was getting into. I would say I was better prepared for the college I'm in now, solely because of the fact that I had the experience of taking these college courses, having college level writing, being put through these rigorous like exams and things of that sort. And I would say that like being a part of this program, it like helped me understand like why it's important for like these type of opportunities to be introduced into like minority communities to begin with. And like even just like having the some credits, not even just getting your associate's degree, is beneficial to like get the students to understand that like you can do it and it is possible, and also just like push you toward to like be this better and like greater person. Like I've just been hearing about multiple different like classmates doing amazing things, going to amazing colleges. And it's like really like promising to hear, especially because like, you know, North Tech is a great school, but this program has like pushed it to become such a great thing. And eventually, hopefully, like we could expand it to all of the students. And that way that it's not just like these 20 or 30 kids, but like everyone can have an opportunity to not just get their associate's degree, but also be open to the networking that comes with the program.
So thank you so much for that. Just excellent, and continued success with all that you are doing. And you inspire us to work harder. So thank you. Katrina.
Hello, everyone. First and foremost, thank you so much for this opportunity. It is my pleasure to be here. My name is Katrina. I am one of the current students that will be graduating in 2022. I am beyond excited for that. But just to talk about the program in general, like Dusu said, it is just a unique and amazing opportunity that has given me the skills that not every 17-year-old high school student will have in the future. And just being able to have a rigorous amount of coursework and balancing that with your high school work, it's not easy, but it's the reality of college as well. For those students that are going to have a higher education, you need those skills. And that's the foundation implemented at such a young age is very impactful. And time management, like I will preach about it so much. And I'm extremely grateful for my professors or teachers. Ms. Ramos has put that in me that when I go to my university, I will be on top of my work because I'm deciding to majoring as a nurse, getting my BSN. But it is just a wonderful opportunity. It's not just giving me time management skills, but being able to communicate with others, to understand that your education is the key to success. And once you put your mind to anything, it is possible. Like telling people that I'm graduating with an associate's degree and my high school diploma, it's a big shocking moment for them. And it's something that I am proud of, I'm grateful for. And in the future, I hope a lot of minority students will get this opportunity. And that is not all that I have to say, but for the sake of time, I'm going to end it right there. But it is truly amazing that young minds, the future of this generation, are brilliant people and can make anything possible. So I'm extremely grateful, and hopefully this continues to push forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Katrina. And you inspire us. Just hearing both of you talk, you inspire us so much. And you give us so much hope for our future. Dr. Vieira, Principal Morales, Dusu, Katrina, thank you so much for this presentation. Even though we have gone slightly over our time, this was well worth hearing every word that you all had to share during this segment. So thank you so much for sharing your information with us. Thank you. And next up on our program is Mike Regan. Mike, thank you so much for joining us. I apologize for us being a little late to your start time, but I think the very work that you're doing with P-TECH is exactly what these students are talking about as it relates to giving that exposure and showing them the way. With that, audience, I'd like to introduce you to Mike Regan. Mike is currently the Senior Vice President of CGI's Commercial and State Government Industry Sectors in New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. He has been with CGI for over 16 years and held management positions in large-scale outsourcing, insurance, financial services, utility, state and county governments, media, retail distribution, and manufacturing. Okay, Mike, that was a mouthful, but
that was a mouthful, yeah.
That was a mouthful, okay.
We gotta shorten that.
So Mike is very passionate about the work that CGI has undertaken with P-TECH. For those of you, and I've seen his presentation, I've heard him talk about it, he's very passionate, and we are very passionate, quite frankly, about the work that CGI is doing, and want to immensely thank him for joining us to share that partnership with us. Mike, the floor is yours, and thank you again.
Well, thank you, Vita. Thank you for having me. And good morning, everybody. If we can go to the next page. And Elizabeth touched on this briefly, P-TECH, Pathways in Technology, Early College, High School. Basically what it is, it's a dual enrollment program where students start in the 9th grade. It is a self-paced program where students on the same day would earn their high school diploma and associate's degree in a STEM field. CGI has been an industry partner since day one. And what I'll go through this morning is an industry partner's perspective on why this is important, what this gets us, how this is helping companies in New Jersey be successful and be competitive, all right? This program started in 2011. It was the brainchild of IBM in New York City. The original P-TECH High School is in Brooklyn. And there's a lot of data and information about how successful that's been, how many students have left high school with that associate's degree and went right into high-paying careers, because these aren't jobs, these are careers for these students, okay? It's really a great example of the coming together of academia and industry to serve students in both. It's win-win across the board, okay? P-TECH really focuses on primary underserved backgrounds to give students a different path that they potentially could go down. If we go to the next page, New Jersey was actually a little late to the game when Governor Murphy in his first term and under his leadership awarded 3 grants to 3 school districts. These were roughly $200,000 grants to get the P-TECH High School established. And these are separate high schools from the traditional high school. Students go into a lottery, and there is no testing, there is no requirements. It's just really a desire to want to have a field in STEM. So the first three awards were given to Patterson, New Brunswick, Burlington City. And the initial cohort started in July of 2019. This is a 12-month-a-year program. So the students do not get a traditional summer break. They get smaller breaks throughout the school year, all right? But each of the high schools are aligned with a local college. Passaic, Middlesex, and Rowan are the three initial colleges. Since the initial grant, Governor Murphy has awarded a fourth one to Trenton, and they are aligned with Mercer County College. So they also have a P-TECH program that started. Okay, if we can go to the next page. All right, so here's what CGI does as part of our P-TECH partnership. We are aligned with the New Brunswick School District. We provide a lot of things, STEM camps. One of the things this is how we actually got involved with P-TECH is we did a STEM camp at Woodrow Wilson Elementary School. It was my daughter is a elementary school teacher, and she was looking to bring in a STEM program into the elementary school. And she applied for a grant, and the grant was not awarded because of lack of funds. And I was talking to her and said, I can do a STEM camp because CGI is a technology company and you want to bring technology and STEM. This is what we do for my living. So we did an initial STEM camp with Woodrow Wilson. And as I was walking around to the different classes we were having at the school, the principal whispered in my ear, "Are you familiar with P-TECH?" And it's a new initiative that New Brunswick was getting involved in. And that led to a meeting I had with the superintendent, and one thing led to another, and CGI is one of the industry partners. There's two of us right now, Jingoli, which is real estate developer, and both of us work with New Brunswick School District. We use the STEM camps as a feeder system, right? So we continue to do STEM camps with the elementary schools, and what we're trying to do is create excitement around the STEM fields at a very early age. We do STEM camps with kindergarten students from kindergarten to 8th grade. This way, we want the students to put their name into the lottery. Like I said, there's no testing. It is strictly a lottery. The classes are roughly 35 to 40 students, and they pick names out of a hat, all right? We work with the school district on curriculum development. So we're very involved in the program that's being taught at both the high school and county college level. This way, those students have the skill sets required for joining a CGI or joining a Jingoli, all right? We provide mentoring. Every student has a mentor from CGI or Jingoli, and what we're there to do is just to help them navigate their high school, college career. And I was on a panel earlier this week and joking that we started this thinking it was gonna be, help me with my algebra or help me with this engineering class. And it really has turned into life mentoring for these students. I do guest speaking at P-TECH events. We try to get in front of the parents early to build excitement, because educators and an industry partner can't do this alone. We absolutely need the support of the parents and the families, because they're going through a 12-month-a-year program. You know, this is not the traditional, let's take the family vacation in the summer, and we really need that parent support for this. All right, so we get to the parents early and often, and we continue to meet with parents throughout the entire program. Some of the things that we do with the students, we bring them into CGI work site visits. Just before the pandemic, we had them all into our New York office, which was an amazing experience for some of these students. Some of the students had never been to New York City, even though New Brunswick is only about 40 minutes away. Some of the students have never been on an elevator, and we're a little hesitant to get on the elevator and come up to my 15th floor in New York City. But just to get that experience of what it's like to be in an office, we put them through training. We treat students starting in the 9th grade the same way I treat students with 4-year degrees that I just hired out of Rutgers or out of Montclair, or any 4-year university in the state of New Jersey. The benefit I see is when I hire a student with a 4-year degree that does not know CGI, they never interned with us, but they had a nice resume from here's the classwork I've taken. It takes me between 6 and 9 months before I can put them in front of my clients. They have to understand who we are, what we do, how to interact with clients. I'm starting that in the 9th grade with these students. So it's not only the classwork, but they're also getting soft skills. We take them through, how do you interview? We take them through, how do you dress for an interview? How do you conduct yourself? You know, how do you look a person in the eyes? They learn all about CGI. So the 6-month or a 9-month program that a new 4-year degree student goes through, these students have it starting in 9th grade all the way through grade 14. When they join CGI, they hit the ground running. There is no onboarding, there is no training. I can put them in front of my clients day one, okay? We help them with their, I said about the curriculum, but the soft skills we found is what was missing. So there's a system that CGI uses for our internal training. It's called Pacifico Skillsoft, and we've opened that up to New Brunswick. We put it out there for them to access so the students can take the soft skills class, how to generate a resume. You know, what it's like to sit through a mock interview, okay? All this material sits on this website, and we put it in both English and Spanish for the students. And we're slowly incorporating those soft skills into the curriculum for the students. We provide internships, and I sit on the board for P-TECH. If we go to the next page. One of the concerns we have with P-TECH is we're going to spend a lot of time educating these students. And after they graduate with their associate's degree, they're going to leave the state of New Jersey and take jobs somewhere else, right? What we're putting together is I call the New Jersey P-TECH ecosystem, where we're providing the mentorships, but I'm working with the state of New Jersey and my clients in New Jersey, like Merck and J&J and PSE&G, Quest, to say, hey, give CGI projects. I'm going to put these P-TECH students in a complete ecosystem. This way, these students become contributing citizens to the economy of New Jersey. It's a win-win across the board. So we're only through our 3rd cohort. Our 4th cohort was just picked out of the hat, so to speak, last month. So as we start putting programs to complete this ecosystem with my partners, my clients, all right, this will be rolled out over the next 2 years as students finally graduate with their associate's degree in that STEM field, okay? If we go to the next page, just some stats on the diversity of the program. And a big thing for me is, you know, one of the benefits for me is this is creating a pipeline for me of talented, skilled resources that when I go look to hire in the future, it's a diverse pool. And I want that diversity at CGI. And P-TECH is an avenue that gives me that diversity. You can see the stats. We're seeing more and more females get involved as the word gets out. I think it goes back to the early awareness with the STEM camps. And we're getting more and more females put into the hat, right? And it gives us a chance, as we're pulling the names out of a hat, to have more females in the program, which is key. I need that diversity. Any company in New Jersey needs that diversity to be successful. Okay. And lastly, like Vita said, I can talk for hours on P-TECH, but there is a great book that was written. It was released about 6 months ago. If anybody wants a copy of it, shoot me an email. I have plenty of copies. I can send it to you. But this book will take you through how P-TECH started with New York City in 2011, the benefits that those students that were a part of the initial program, how it's grown to over 300 P-TECH schools worldwide with 600 industry partners, and the benefits that industries like CGI are seeing as a result of this very successful program.
Thank you so much for that, Mike. And can we have the next slide, which I think highlights the book. This is Breaking Barriers. This is the book that Mike was sharing with us. if you want additional information just on P-TECH and the impact that it's making. Mike, thank you so much for joining us. I want to thank our audience for staying on because we went past our 11 o'clock, but this was so worth the time investment, sharing what CGI is doing, and quite frankly, the impact and what you look for as an industry partner. As we build out these pathways, particularly with our community colleges and the centers, one of the big questions is what are the needs of industry? How are we creating, how are we meeting that need? And what you shared with us particularly talks about what that need looks like and how building out the pipeline and quite frankly, being an industry partner, investing time, energy, and resources really does impact in an effective way. So thank you. Thank you so much. And we will absolutely be in touch. I will share Mike's information with you all for anyone who wants to reach out to Mike, particularly about the book or just about the work that CGI is doing.
The program, yes.
Yeah, the work that he's doing. It is very impactful. And you can see his passion came across. But the one thing that was out of everything that he talked about was when we talked about the diversifying of that pipeline. And when you heard Elizabeth talk about the work that she's doing, you heard Dr. Vieira and Principal Morales and these two students, because we know that when you diversify that pipeline with talent, that it is better for everyone and it's access and opportunity that can change the trajectory of lives. That's what everyone in this on this Zoom and who's spoken to you today, that's exactly the work that they're doing. So Mike, Regan, thank you so much again for joining us. I have about 2 seconds before the music starts playing. I'd just like to say thank you. Please continue to give us feedback. That's a QR code. Please join our ecosystem, join our pathway, continue to get involved. If you're not already involved, here's the QR code, get involved and please join us for this work because it is ambitious. But we saw 2 students today. That's the work that we're doing, access and opportunity. And more important, when we talk about dual enrollment, we're not talking about the old playbook. We're talking about the new playbook with dual enrollment reimagined for everyone. And it starts also with CTEs. So with that, thank you very much. Hit us on all of our platforms, social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. We're there. Join us, use our hashtags, and come back with us for later in the month when we have our Health Service Collaborative on May 18th, Infrastructure and Energy Collaborative on May 25th. We are bringing it, so come and join us. Thank you so much. We look forward to you joining us again. Have a great rest of your week and a great day.